What up, cooks? It's your boy, the hater, up in this piece. And I want to take an opportunity to make a video about something that, I would say it saddens me, but quite honestly, I don't give a fuck. But that is the career of Wardlow, right? I always thought that Wardlow was something special. I remember the vignettes that introduced Wardlow and that he was going to be this guy that comes in and kicks ass. In fact, what he became was a Lackey for life. This guy now sucks. Wardlow is one of the worst wrestling characters of all time because the inconsistency of his booking just screams that, right? Wardlow, if he had any creativity, he would stand up for himself and he would say, I'm not doing this shit. I'm not going to be this guy. And if that's what you want to make me, I'm leaving, right? I'm leaving. Now, the reason why he needs to do that is not because, of integrity reasons. I don't give a damn. It's a job. Do your job. But he needs to take a stand because at this point, he runs the risk of being typecast as exactly that. Just the big guy in the group. Like Rob Terry. Remember Rob Terry? Every group, when then you need a big guy, they just put Rob Terry in there, right? In TNA, right? And this happens a lot. There's a lot of people that are just the big guy in the group, and you don't ever want to be that guy, right? Or not just be the big guy, but be any stereotype in a group, because that means you'll never be the leader of the group, right? And with that being said, Wardlow has the potential, and he should gamble on himself because he's a good-looking kid. He's got good moves. He can wrestle. He's athletic, and he is what Vince McMahon is looking for, always, right? A big, strong, good-looking, marketable guy. So he's got a pretty good chance of going to WWE. Now, maybe he can screw around until he gets there, but the point is, even if that's his plan, the plan is going to shit because this, if you will, this booking is just not good enough. Let's just put it out there like that, right? Now, let's get to why. First, Wardlow comes out and he's just a guy. All right, fair. You start everybody off like that. That's perfectly fine. Then he becomes the Lackey of MJF, which I think is great because MJF clearly is positioned by the company as someone who's going to be a big deal, right? He is the Diesel to MJF. If MJF were Shawn Michaels, which obviously he's not, he's much worse. But let's just say that were the case, right? With that being said, we know the story. Diesel eventually stands up for himself or turns on Shawn Michaels, right? And Diesel goes his own way is the point, right? Either Diesel, in this case, I'm using Diesel as a metaphor for Wardlow, right? Because Diesel did what he did and we didn't know what Wardlow was going to do. But either Wardlow, Diesel, is going to be abused to the point of not taking it anymore, or he's going to be the heel. Either way, he's going to be feuding with someone who is a big deal, right? And that's the idea here. Now, the majority of MJF's tenure with Wardlow was characterized by the Pinnacle, which is one of the worst groups in wrestling history because nothing happened. It was just MJF and Wardlow were always there. FTR, who quickly distanced themselves from the group, and what's his face? The guy who says 10 a lot. I forget his name. But you know what I'm talking about. The Canadian guy who's married to Peyton Royce. Sean Spears. There it is. It always comes to me in the end. Like right as I'm about to give up on trying to find the name. Right? So that group was garbage. And basically the group ended and it was still MJF and Wardlow. Right? And then the majority of that run, even with the group, was him against Jericho. Right? Eventually that feud culminated in Jericho beating MJF, which was the right choice. And then eventually after that, he had the feud with Cody Rhodes too. But eventually what happened was Wardlow and MJF parted ways after MJF kept abusing Wardlow and had a very similar storyline with Wardlow that he did with Jericho, right? Wardlow all of a sudden realized that he has balls and that he is much, much bigger and much, much stronger than MJF. So far so good, right? What happens then is they have a match. Wardlow squashes MJF in a way that I've never seen before. I've never seen someone that is, that high up and arguably the future of the company be squashed by someone like Wardlow. So I'm thinking, wow, man, they really must be high on Wardlow. But guess what? That's not what happened, cuckolds. Wardlow then went on to win a meaningless title whose name I don't remember. He didn't want to fight MJF until he was ready, right? He wanted MJF at his best, right? So even though MJF was the champion and Wardlow wanted him at his best because he had some injuries, Wardlow also basically was saying that I don't think I'm good enough to be the World Heavyweight Champion. I don't deserve it yet, right? Which is going to be a consistent theme throughout this video. Now that happened, and then Wardlow went into mediocrity, wrestling the likes of Orange Cassidy in meaningless matches over a meaningless title, which was first called the North Atlantic title. I don't even know what it's called now. It's called the Continental title. I don't even know, to be honest. It's like such a meaningless title that nobody cares, right? So Wardlow had that for a while, completely useless. Then he wrestled Orange Cassidy for a while, completely useless. They had some matches. They traded the title back and forth, I think. I don't know, to be honest, right? I don't remember. All of this happened in like Collision or like, Dark. He wasn't on TV during this time. Very rarely was Wardlow featured on TV. Meanwhile, MJF, despite being the one that got completely squashed by Wardlow, was on TV all the time talking, right? Not all the time compared to like, I don't know, Trent Beretta back in the early days, but all the time compared to like Wardlow, right? Because MJF is never on TV all the time. He's always like taking a break or showing up every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? Whereas Trent Beretta, when this company started, in my opinion, one of the guys that was the most visible during this time, right? But I digress. The point is Wardlow didn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, Wardlow, who is now in the same category as Shawn Spears in terms of irrelevancy, pretty much was introduced in this group. The group makes sense because it's like Roderick Strong and his friends, right? From the Kingdom. And Roderick Strong, of course, and Adam Cole have history in WWE. So they're all four of them are ROH guys. All four of them, except for Mike Bennett, are ROH champions. All three of them are ROH champions. So this is like an ROH group, and then they also have Wardlow in there, right? So it's kind of like when Wardlow and MJF were a unit, right? FTR was a unit, and they put in Shawn Spears there as well for no reason. Now Wardlow is that Shawn Spears. He is the guy that doesn't fit. So the problem with this is, in my opinion, it's done for Wardlow, right? Where does Wardlow go from here, right? He has no options. There literally are no options. I would never wish injury on someone because like he's a human being and I don't want him to get hurt. But I think for his career, that might be the best thing. He gets injured, then he comes back and he gets repackaged as something else because the stable is done, right? Otherwise, what are we going to see? The same thing? Wardlow turning eventually on Adam Cole? Like Adam Cole abusing Wardlow? Not learning from the mistakes of MJF? And I guess why would he learn, right? Because it's like Wardlow is so abusable. He's such a follower that, how can Wardlow at this point ever be presented as a credible champion? How? He's just a follower. I'm supposed to believe that the follower is gonna, unchain himself from his master and then chain himself to another master? No, motherfuckers. The follower needs to become the leader. And once he becomes the leader, he can never be a follower again. If he's a follower again, it's a wrap, right? The character has been completely assassinated. So, with that being said, I can only blame AEW's writers for this. They just needed a big guy. They needed to give Wardlow something. Obviously, Wardlow is not in their picture in their plan to create a new star or a new champion. They'd rather go with Samoa Joe, which in my opinion is a mistake. They could have done this exact same thing and done it with Wardlow instead, right? It would have been a better story. It would have been a better match. It would have been a better everything, right? When I say instead, I mean instead of Samoa Joe, have Wardlow there. And just have Wardlow be the leader of this group, not Adam Cole. It doesn't make any sense. Adam Cole is not going to be this huge star. Wardlow has that potential. Maybe they don't want that for Wardlow for whatever reason. Maybe they don't like him. Maybe he's annoying. Maybe they know that eventually he's going to go to WWE. Who the fuck knows? Who the fuck cares? What I do know is that this was not a good choice. This was not sustainable. And that this is not entertaining for anybody. Like seeing Wardlow there. And in my personal opinion, this is as good as ending Wardlow's career in AEW because he can never go anywhere good from this, right? Like, he needs a complete rebrand and a complete repackage. And the only way he can get out of this group now is if the group disbands, which it's not going to happen anytime soon, so that's a complete waste of time. Or if Wardlow rebels against the group, which also is not going to happen very soon. And if it does, it's going to be the same exact story as when he rebelled against MJF. So what exactly are we seeing? Why the hell would I ever care about Wardlow again? You know what I mean? And that being said, there's not much more to say about this. It's a shame. Maybe Wardlow sucked all along. Who knows, right? But it does seem like they just wasted a good opportunity. I'm not going to say they misused them because they're the ones that know more than me about what Wardlow is and is not capable of, or perhaps what Wardlow's contract is like. Maybe Wardlow has like a few months left on the deal. At that point, they probably would keep him off TV, but it doesn't matter. The point is, they know more than me, so I'm not going to say they misused him. But if there's anybody that has ever been misused, it is Wardlow, because, this is a company where you have people like Nick Wayne, Daniel Garcia, and Brock Anderson running around. You know what I mean? And Wardlow is there doing nothing. So, it is what it is, but tough shit. That's what happens, Wardlow. Get used to it, buddy.